not a musician, so I can't really, talk to, oh yeah, you broke it down in this key and you did that. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I just know it sounds good. So anyway, shall we just go ahead to, well, just let you know that this is our, uh, next show that we have coming up is Kate Sparks, who is a writer as well. And she'll be on the episode November 2nd. So I just want to mention that. Kate Sparks will be on November 2nd's episode. And so, yeah, that one could be long too. So here we go. Here's Gary, and we'll talk to you soon, Bonnie.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hello, Gary. How are you today?
I'm very good, Carolyn. It's a beautiful autumn day. I'm very pleased to be on your show and your little get-together. It's great.
Yeah. It's sunny out here, that's for sure. But it's usually sunny out in Lewisport. Not unusual to see the sunshine.
Oh yeah, I know. You got the best of it. I know. Yeah.
I always say we got the best weather in Newfoundland on the water.
Well, I'm sitting in my house with the patio door facing the ocean, and the ocean is nice and blue right below my windows. I can't get it much better than that.
No, can't get no better. You need to have a bit of water. I'm a block from the water. I can't see it. Well, I can, but I got to do I almost got to do yoga on the roof to see it.
No, I don't have to do that. All I got to do is look at my window. It's right where I was born, so I expect I will just pass away right here too.
Right there, that's a good spot, isn't it?
Right, yeah, it is. Yeah, unless
you're
my
in
circumstances.
And you're in Hare Bay, which is tell everybody where Hare Bay is.
Hare Bay is about 24 kilometers north of Gambo after you leave the Trans-Canada Highway.
And everybody knows Gambo because of Mr. Joey Smallwood. So if they don't, they should Google that. Yep.
Love him or hate him, you still know the place.
You still know it, yeah, for sure. And so, and you were born and raised there.
I was.
And we were talking on the weekend past because you were at the Literary Events NL tour stop in Lewisport. And I heard you say that you were a logger?
Yes, well, it's strange, and I said down at the Lewisport thing, when I'm asked now frequently, I'm asked, are you an author? And I said, well, I always consider myself a logger because I slung chainsaw for 30 years, and we had our own business for 42 years in logging, sawmill, log driving, log lumber trucking business. So that's what I did for me and my father and then my son from 1968 until just like a few years ago when we faded out.
So how does a logger become a writer?
That's a question I've been asked many times, and I guess the answer is always the same. I started reading the milk cans on my mother's table, I guess. I always liked to be reading stuff, and I found out very early on that I enjoyed writing about what I call, romantic geography, I guess you call it. I always liked writing about moonlight down through the trees and the way the sun sparkled on the water and trails in the woods, and I used to write stuff down all over the place and was insignificant to me, and I enjoyed doing it. And one time somebody died here around, 70s or something. And I was asked to write some things about them, like a eulogy, which I started to do, and I did, and I finished, and people liked it. And for years, I wrote eulogies, and I still do, free, of course. And that's how I started writing, and then my daughter sent one of my stories that had been in my desk somewhere around the house, sent it to Ryan Cleary up the Newfoundland Herald without telling me, and so Ryan Cleary, we go way back, and so Ryan was my editor for 5 or 6 years, and I started doing feature articles under a different name, Nicholas C., which is a boy we lost tragically a long time ago, which I won't get into. So then Ryan always wanted me to write a book, and I wrote Cabot Island, the very first book, and I think it went bestseller in, 5 or 6 weeks, and I was very impressed and shocked and humbled and all that stuff. And then I continued on, and now my 13th one is on the way.
13.
So there you have it.
Lucky 13.
Lucky 13. I said that to an author a while ago, And they said, well, they're all lucky because they've done well. And I said, yeah, I never looked at it like that. And but you just figure one of them's going to be a really big seller, but I don't. It's nice. I don't write for that. I write for the pleasure of it and escape from reality sometimes.
So your writing now, I think a lot of it is non-fiction based, is based in history and actual events. At least some of the ones I've read about real people, like Maddie Mitchell and those stories are, really firmly set in history. Tell me a little bit about that. I mean, how did you fall into writing about real people as opposed to fictional characters?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. The first book, Cabot Island, was about my Rose, my wife's uncles, who were both lighthouse keepers, and one of the brother died on Cabot Island, as the name suggests of the book, and the other brother was there with the body in a blizzard for 3 or 4 days, and that was kind of personal. And a lot of people today that I've had have all my books, they still like Cabot Island first, best, because it's compassion, I guess, a lot of passion in it. So then the next one was The Last Farewell. My father was telling me the story from the time I was barely old enough to listen, but a schooner was lost tragically from this town, and that was a real event. And then it went on, and until I was out, and then I got into the Mi'kmaq Indians quite haphazardly, I guess, for lack of a better word. I was asked to write about Maddie Mitchell, and I kind of didn't want to do it. I didn't know anything about it. And then I was asked to write about Shooty Joe, another Mi'kmaq Indian, by his family. And I did, and I got into it, and I found early on that I loved writing about it. And I like to write anything pertaining to the woods. I guess my logging background had a lot to do with it. And I spent most all of my young youth and adult life in the woods. And I loved writing about the wilderness things, and the rustle in the woods is always there for me. And, it was a very emotional thing. Maddie Mitchell was a great success. I think it's gone to 6 reprints, and I've been a lot of accolades from his family. There's been a nickel movie made out of it by the College of the North Atlantic. And the man who starred as Maddie Mitchell was Maddie Mitchell's great-grandson, Alonzo Rumbold.
Oh, wow.
And I'll never forget, I was working in Fort McMurray at a different thing, just as a short thing. And I was called down by the College of the North Atlantic and asked if I would open up the show. And I think there were 50, 60 people. And the place was black. Stephenville Arts and Culture Center was full. And so they gave me some time to kind of prepare the audience for the 15-minute part of the movie.
Right.
And it was all well and good. It was good. It's fine. And when I was coming down from the stage, walking down the corridor, and a lot of the Mi'kmaq elders were there dressed in their regalia, and it was wonderful. And this old Mi'kmaq elder came in the corridor and wrapped his arm around my neck, and no one could hear him, only me. And he was sobbing on my neck, and he was saying, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for saving our heritage. Thank you for bringing it to life, over and over and over. So I felt vindication, to say the least, and it was very, very emotional, so words can be powerful, as you know, you're a writer yourself. So, sometimes it can be good.
It's quite an honor, because those stories, they're very valuable, and unfortunately, a lot of us in other places of the province and the country haven't heard them. I mean, they're very kept within their communities. Held tightly and valued, and a lot of it's oral tradition, and so to ask someone to write that, like yourself, it must have been a great honor for you to be the one to bring that story out of its community and share it with the broader audience.
It was a great honor, to say the least. Just to give an example, when Brian Sparks was Maddie Mitchell's great-grandson, asked me to do it, and I didn't know anything about Maddie Mitchell. I found a little bit during the research for Shooty Joe, and he said, well, I got my mother's journals, diaries. Wow. And we were sitting in a motel room in Cornerbrook, over to the Glenmore Inn, and he had this box there full of Ilroy exercise books written in pen and pencil by I mean, stacks and stacks of them. And his mother's dead, and and she had written things about Matty Mitchell was her grandfather. Gee, Brian, I just can't. I can't take your books. And he said, well, I don't think I can give them to you. I said, well, I don't blame you. And I can't be running back and forth to Cornerbrook to look at this stuff and talking on the phone. I'm not going to cut it. So I didn't think it was going to happen. So Brian and I talked for an hour, no boozy involved. We weren't drinking or anything like that, nothing to soften it up. And we talked and, about things. And quite suddenly he said, Gary, you got to take those. You got to take this. You're the man to do it. He said, you have to take those. You got to take Mom's journals. And I got emotional and he shook hands. He said, I entrust them to you. So, and I did. And I poured through all of it, verbatim. I read it all, and it was an amazing thing. So from it, I fleshed out the story. And when I returned to Brian, all I asked of him was that he not give them to another author for 4 or 5 years and let the book have a chance to spin itself,
Right.
So, as Brian said, no one will ever get them, period. It's done deal. No one will read my mother's work. It's done. So, and, we had the book launch in Cornerbrook. The media was there, the TV, the radio, and MP from that area was there, and Provincial, and Brian. And I went into the mall, and I just thought it was, a mall is always crowded. And I think there was 200 people lined up. So
wow.
It was incredible. I mean, it's Brian Sparks, his family, and his brothers, and one of his sisters coming up and crying. It was very emotional because it was this man that nobody had heard of. You understand? This man discovered Buchan's mine, for which he discovered the best source of massive sulfides on this planet. Matty Mitchell was the man who discovered it. Massive sulfides means like minerals, copper, lead, gold, zinc, all into one rock, all into one conglomerate. So, and he discovered, he didn't know what he had, but he discovered that. And they gave him a barrel of flour worth $2 in 1905, 50 cents, $2.50. And Buchan's mine is made, I don't know, $10 billion. Yeah. So it was, and none of his families got any royalties, any regime from any of that. So here was this all brought to life, and all the other things. He brought the first cartographers across this island, all led by Matty Mitchell. And it would bug the hell out of me. I'd be reading this research, and they would say, this so-and-so left England. And he was on, and the ship was named out, and they came to St. John's, and they stayed in the Merchant's house. The Merchant's name was named. And the schooner they got on to go to Notre Dame Bay was named. And they got into the mouth of the Exploit River, and I ordered an Indian.
Yeah.
No name mentioned. And an Indian. And then my Indian, and this Indian. And went on. It was a bug the hell out of me, right? So he was unrecognized, so that's how it went.
It's quite a snapshot of how the colonialism worked. And we talk a lot about the colonialism now. I think it's just coming to light for a lot of us who our ancestors participated or were part of it, and sometimes innocently so, because it was just the way things were done, and it was just a different time. But when you look at it on paper, black and white, and everybody's named but the Indian, and it's sort of a really powerful snapshot in time of how things were then, and how little regard was held for the people who did so much. They participated in the future prosperity that would happen to these merchants, and got what'd you say, a barrel of flour. I mean, it's just
$2.50 was worth, yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just absolutely mind-boggling that the way they were taken advantage of and disregarded, and it was just never thought that they should share in that.
And you're right.
Of course,
you're
generations
right,
later, they still don't have anything. It's like it's never been made up for, and I think those stories are really important, Gary, that for us to read.
Well, it is, it is, and you were right. The statement you just made, that basically you said that was then and this is now, and you're right. And I just, as you know, last year I wrote the book The Last Beothuk, and in retrospect, I should have called it Cop, The Last Beothuk, because this story is not about Shauna Dissett, although she's in the pages. But this is about a person that I found that outlived Shauna Dissett by, I'm not sure, at least 40, maybe 50 years. and it's it's a thing to be known. But